Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today, I'm asking the question, what's more important, to have qualifications or to have experience? So, for example, if I'm going for a job interview, which of those two things do you think might be better? Well, it depends here in the UK. It depends on whether the job itself needs someone who has a certificate. For example, if you want to be a doctor or a teacher or to work as a lawyer, for example, you need to show, of course, that you have the correct qualifications. So if the job needs a qualification, then of course you need to have that qualification, especially jobs which are licensed. You know, those jobs where you have to carry a card to prove that you can do it. All of those jobs, of course, do need qualifications, and some of them also need experience before you can actually get the job. So, for example, to be a teacher, you have to go to college or university, and during your course, you have to spend, for example, 1 year in a school. To be a doctor, you have to do lots of exams, but you also have to spend time in a hospital, okay, or in a surgery, just to make sure that you have the experience. But for other jobs here in the UK, for example, let's say if you want to work in a shop, or if you want to work in a factory, or even if you want to work in certain offices, you don't need to have any kind of qualifications. You can simply show people that you're able to do it. Now, you would be surprised that some of the best known famous people didn't go to university here, didn't even complete school. Why is that? Why would we have a system that employs people who aren't really qualified? Let me explain. First of all, employers aren't stupid. They know that they have to pay graduates a little bit more. So actually, they prefer to employ people who aren't really skilled. Secondly, employers like to employ temporary people, people that they know might not stay long, or to bring them in on a temporary contract. It's cheaper, because if you employ someone permanently from the beginning, you have to pay for their pension rights. Of course, there's insurance that has to be paid. It's not cheap. So to bring someone in with no qualifications, who might not stay long, in some ways is better. And besides, the days of having a job for life, these days are long gone. Companies these days also realize that young people don't like commitment so much. And if you're offering a kind of a low salary, you're not going to attract someone who has lots and lots of qualifications, because they're expecting to have a better job. After all, they've just left university. It's a very interesting thing, but if you go for a job here, you'll be surprised to learn that perhaps on the job advertisement itself, it might say something like, no previous knowledge necessary, or everyone is considered in this application, meaning no matter what your qualification. Another reason, and perhaps one of the most important reasons, is that up until the 1980s, the late 1980s and early 1990s, people did not have a chance to go to university here. People who lived in cities and people who came from the correct backgrounds, of course, had no trouble entering college or university. But most people didn't, especially if you came from a small place, because universities tended to be in the cities. And the UK has villages and towns scattered all over the place. And before the internet came, they were quite rural. Some of them still are. It was when Margaret Thatcher came to power that she opened up the system and allowed all people the chance to have education. How did she do that? Well, she created the system of lending, so that if you want to go to university today, the government will lend you money, which you have to pay back later. That system worked really well, but here in the UK, it depends where you are. For example, if you live in Scotland and you're British, education is free, so you don't pay any tuition and you don't have to borrow money. However, if you live in England, from the very beginning of your college or university course, you have to borrow and you have to pay it back. In Scotland, the system is that it's free for everyone if you are an undergraduate, but as you continue in education, there is an expectation that you will pay. There's also the issue of fees, how much you pay, depending on where you are. So, although the government introduced this, and it is very successful in getting people into college and university, there is a little problem, and that is when you reduce anything down to a cost, it loses its efficacy, it loses its quality. And there are big question marks here over whether the education that's provided really is altogether suitable. We had a case recently where a young Chinese girl, I think she was Chinese, came to one of our universities in the north of England, and the course promised her that at the end she would be able to get a wonderful job. And she successfully argued after doing the course that just didn't work. There was no way that quality of education could get her that wonderful job which it promised. As a result, there was a court case and she won. She won a lot of money. It is said that education is very good and necessary, and that is certainly true for some countries, but it certainly is not true for the UK. Because of our democracy, our society values experience greatly, because at this moment we have lots of people with lots of qualifications, but no one who seems able to do simple tasks. As a result, we often look at our politicians and those people we feel should be educated, and we think, really that behaviour is very strange. The issue is not an easy one to resolve. For example, if how much information you can remember, how much you can put into your head defines you in terms of your intellectual capability, then most of us would actually be excluded. For example, many teachers have said that they have in their classes young people who are very gifted, who can talk, would be great at sales, but sadly cannot pass an exam. and these people often leave school with no qualifications. However, they go on to be very successful businessmen. Living in a democracy like the UK gives chances to everyone. In our newspapers every day, we can hear stories of refugees and immigrants who have come to the UK, who've started businesses, who've done all kinds of things, and actually got to the top of their profession without having any qualifications. All they've had is a little bit of determination and used our system. Anyone can come here, anyone can set up a company. As long as you do it ethically, in accordance with the law, you don't need any qualifications. So, just to wrap up and to conclude, which is better, qualifications or experience? I think all you need is a chance. If you have a qualification, you might catch the eye of a company. But if you have experience and you can do something which people like, you'll catch the eye of everyone. At least that's how it is here. So don't bank on qualifications too much, because perhaps all you need is a chance. And certainly you'll get that here, but it's hard work. Well, that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's talk again soon. See you. Bye.